Good afternoon, School Board, Dr. Hernandez and district staff. The time is 5 p.m. on November 4th, 2024, and I call this board workshop meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board to order. Let me begin with roll call. Dr. James Hernandez.
Present.
Mr. Joseph Guerra will not be joining us today. Mr. Frank Espinosa.
Present.
Mr. Luis Gomez.
Present.
Mr. Michael Valdez will not be joining us. Mr. Richard Santoyo.
Here.
And I, Martha Castilla, am present. Let the record show that a quorum of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Will you please stand to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States and Texas flag and a moment of silence. Dr. Hernandez, do we have any public comments, sir?
Madam President, we do not have any public comment.
Thank you. You have a report? Go ahead.
Joey, all right, so good evening, everybody. Buenas tardes to everybody. Thank you for coming out for our monthly board workshop. Just a couple of quick highlights about what you're going to hear this evening and just some of the items that are up for this month. This is National Native American Heritage Month, so if you didn't know that, got a new piece of information today. So I hope that you will take time to make these observations and these announcements on your campus. I know we've got a lot of principals here today, so it is National Native American Heritage Month. It is also National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. That is really, I wanted to lift that because we actually do have students in our district who at different times find themselves homeless. And so this is always education is the key to everything. So I want to make sure that we all knew this was the month of the year that is cited on our calendar. Of course, this is not the only month of the year we have teams who need assistance, but I did want to lift that for everybody in our school district. So with regards to tonight's board meeting, there's a few items that I wanted to bring to your attention and highlight just as some of the work that's going on in the district. The first and foremost is I do want to thank our finance department led by our assistant superintendent, Ms. Mira Martinez. We have just found out that we made the Government Finance Officer Association Certificate of Achievement yet again this year. We just got that information 2 days ago. 2 days ago. And so why is this important? This is not something that is looked at by TEA. It's not a Texas Education Agency group. As a matter of fact, it's not even the United States thing only. This is the United States and Canada. And so this is one of the national syndicates that comes through, looks at all your financial reporting, and awards these certificates. They do not go out to everybody, but we have achieved it yet again. I think this year. So thank you to Mirna and all the other men and women that are in this building. Actually, finance is mostly in this building now for the most part. So I want to thank them too. The second thing I want to thank is our schools that are actually hitting their attendance marks for the second 6 weeks. Although Ms. Basaldua is not here, I do want to thank her for the preparation of these reports. These are reports that we look at weekly. Sometimes schools are hitting their targets weekly, but this is the actual target for the 6 weeks. Those signs that you see there are the schools that actually hit their targets. I know as I'm visiting schools, I'm seeing a lot more of a concerted effort at raising their attendance rates. So, like I said, some are hitting it weekly, some are hitting at the 6 week mark. But nonetheless, I want to thank these particular schools. These are going out every week. You'll probably catch them on social media if you're following my particular account. And then I'm also seeing a lot of other principals start highlighting the work they're doing, not only on their campuses, but with our district teams too. Mr. Mota, Ms. Yuli, year. You know, a lot of times, these are the things that actually bring our kids into school. And so I want to highlight none of it. Ms. D, don't think of my secretary. She's one who makes, you know, that's not that great. I don't have this skill. But all the different graphics that she makes, because I'll send these out to specific teachers. You see, there's Ramirez de Lopez here. You'll see our new hospitality teachers. We have 2 new hospitality teachers that are in the district now. And just our different groups that are out there. These are some of the young men that had us studying here. Matter of fact, I got surrounded by a group of boys that asked me, when are we going to have a barber program? We need a barber program. A lot of boys actually want that program. So, again, thank you to Mr. Uribe, Dr. Basulto, and the members of the academic services team for putting together that week. I'll highlight that on the 18th, I believe we have our college fair, and so that's coming in about 2 weeks, and so hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. But there's a lot of work that goes into doing this work, so thank you again, Mr. Uribe. As always, guys, for the board workshop, you will, as you usually do, you will get your, this is our monthly cadence, you will get your opportunity for a one-on-one meeting should you need it following any of these items that are being presented tonight. We will also have our weekly board update. That board update has already gone out for the first, that was for last week. You'll get it again on the 8th, you'll get it again on the 15th, and then of course our board meeting is on the 19th. It's not a board update the week of the board meeting, and of course that last week in November we are on Thanksgiving break, so everybody hopefully will be with family. There will not be a board update at that time. Some of the presentations you're going to hear tonight start with our legislative priorities. So this January, we are about to embark on our next legislative session. You know, we had a very interesting one during the last session or 2. And so today I asked Julia Gazar, she's our Bexar County Education Coalition Executive Director, to come in and speak to you about the board priorities that we are asking that you consider to put forward as we go into the legislative session this year. The first 60 days of the legislative session are a great opportunity for us to get up there and meet with individuals. Both the individuals that are champions for public ed, you've heard me say that before, but more importantly, and I'm saying this because I said this today at one of our Region 20 meetings, it is also important we go out and speak to those who don't understand what we're asking for. And when we do that, we need to do that very specifically with legislative priorities in hand as well as quantitative data. And so today, Julia's going to talk to you about the state of where we are as a state and what are the legislative priorities that we are recommending that are going to be pretty much in direct alignment with the rest of Region 20 and the Bexar County Coalition. The second thing you're going to hear is a safety update from our police chief, Chief Quiroga. We do have a quick update for you on some findings from our intruder auditors. So Chief Quiroga will be presenting after that. Then you'll hear from our middle school grade campuses and our operating partners that are here tonight to do their presentation, as well as the leadership presentation from Mr. Chavez and his folks on the Lone Star governance goals, and then of course on a couple items that are coming to you that are not necessarily new, but there are items that we do want to bring to you here during our workshop. We will close out with Ms. Martinez and her group. They have some presentations on some items that I believe all her items are recurring. There is really nothing new. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the year, we'll discuss only the items that are brand new as opposed to the items that are recurring. Most of our time this year is going to be spent on principals coming in and presenting their campus data as part of the work that we're doing. So with that said, those are our dates for the closing of the month. I'll remind you, early in December, we only have a workshop. And we will not have a regular board meeting until January 21st. There's a big gap there. So everybody gets a rest of the night. But those will be in December and January. And Madam President, that closes out my presentation. So I will turn it over to Ms. Salinas and Julia who have the first presentations.
Yes, good evening, and thank you. I do have Julia Izzard here, who is going to be presenting, as Dr. Hernandez stated earlier, on 2 items that are going to come to you. One is an item which is a resolution to go into the legislative session with adopting or approving the resolution so that we are able to make a public stance and serve as advocates to ensure we have the public school funding that we need to be successful in our schools. And the second item is really around the legislative priorities that Dr. Hernandez shared with you all. And Julia is going to talk through each of those priorities, but they're really more specific around, teacher recruitment. They're also specific around school safety, and she'll she'll let you know what those are going to look like here in the legislative session.
All right, y'all. Can you guys hear me okay? Is there
We also have the podiums available, that makes more.
which one?
The podiums are available as well.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Whatever you guys, whatever is best. And are the slides coming up? Okay, perfect. So, oh, nice, I like this one. Okay. Feel like I can do stand-up. Just kidding, I won't. Unless you want me to? No, Dr. H. Okay, just kidding. Okay, so I'm just starting because I know you guys have a full agenda, so I don't want to go over. There we go. Okay, so many of you all know me. I've presented before, I've been here, but so you all know have a background, just kind of all around policy nerd here as a resource. Bexar County Education Coalition is focused on the elevation, advocacy, and connection on behalf of all of our ISDs in the Bexar County area. I know you all, like I said, have a busy agenda tonight, so I'm going to fly through a lot of these slides, but please know a copy of these slides will be given to you. If you have any questions, I'm always here and available in case you'd like to go through anything in more detail. A quick kind of overview of the timeline that we're in. While we are past the summer, we are still doing some interim hearings, which is where elected officials do address some of the topics that they view are priorities through the legislature. It's important because we get an idea of where the commissioner and where some of our elected officials are currently. And as they're coming back to session, it gives us a little bit of a heads up of what we are in for. As Dr. H said, it was interesting last session. What we determine how we operate is really about this kind of policy cycle. However, unfortunately, the policy cycle has gotten caught up in a lot of the application of what some view as subject matter expertise are becoming farther and farther away from our classrooms. Right? They're at the agency, but they're not necessarily interacting with our students and our teachers. They're not in our classrooms every day, although we try to improve upon that. And so our task at BCEC is really to ensure that you all who are determining budgets and determining what schools and students have access to are connected directly to our policymakers. So I want to second and echo what Dr. H said about coming up in those first 60 days, and then also ensuring that you all have the tools and the justifications for why these legislative points are so vital to the Edgewood ISD community. And so just a quick overview of why we got where we are today. We did start out at the beginning of last year, 2023, with a $60 billion total surplus. So in the past, when we've had to make really difficult budget decisions in our school districts, it's been because the state has been hurting. That is not the case today. The state has enough money to invest in our schools and make some significant generational change. Unfortunately, because of how last session went, here is where we stand when it comes to our FSP, which stands for Foundational School Program. And you all have received some of that information before in terms of the impact of our overall budget and on our operational costs, which we'll talk about in a second. And you all are not alone in the difficulties when it comes to budget and trying to make really difficult budget decisions. Across the state, we have seen headlines where we have districts from all different kinds of sizes, different parts of the state that are dealing with some significant budget woes. This is my favorite Texas quote: "We're down to the nub and the nub's all gone," right? Like that is kind of what we're seeing happening across the state. On top of that, as you all know, school districts have lost, now the estimate is around $500 million in special education funding because of what was happening with SHARS. Unfortunately, I'll say it's so critically important for us to ensure that our policymakers understand what's going on in our classrooms. Because currently we have a leadership that is disconnected from this idea, and these are the kinds of conversations that are happening currently, which again, that we need to inform them about what is actually going on in our school districts and the budget woes that we're receiving. As we see above here, Representative Tepper says the blame does not fall on the legislature, it falls on the school districts. We have Governor Abbott in this letter saying the dissatisfaction with ideological leanings. when even though we know enrollment overall was flat, and we know that generally across the state of Texas, right, districts are dealing with budget woes, however much federal funding they received, because we have not been kept up with inflation and other budgetary needs, as well as increase of free and reduced lunch, special education, all the things that we know, right, deserve more intensive services and therefore funding costs. Furthermore, we have a current school funding system that is relied upon property tax, right? That is pays for the majority of our school system right now is on our property owners, right, that are paying into the property tax system, as well as our families paying sales tax, right, every single day. The way that the state, and I'm building up to this video clip so you guys can understand why he's saying is a little bit puzzling, but the way that the state is able to offer a property tax break, which was one of the things they did last session, is they were able to, what they did is they called buy down property taxes. Meaning that they put more money into the school finance system in order to buy down property taxes, but did not change the allocation, right? Did not change the amount of money that our classrooms receive, okay? And so here's what the Lieutenant Governor said in one of his appearances. Oh, he's saying some really interesting stuff. Don't worry, I'm gonna go on because you guys have a full agenda. So what he says is that the fact that school districts need money is a big lie, is what he calls it. And then he cites how much the funding has gone up in terms of increase because of, again, the property tax buy down. But it has not changed our basic allotment. It has not changed how much money that we are giving to our teachers in our classrooms. But if you are watching that video as an everyday constituent, right, and you don't understand how public school finance is, and that's not a comment on any constituent, public school finance is very complicated, right? Then you're thinking, oh, well, have school districts received an increase, even though we all know, because you all have been in those budget conversations, you have not, right? Same thing with this, there's a clip, which it's okay, we don't have to talk about now, is Governor Abbott saying it was because of federal funding, which we know, right, federal funding did not truly cover the differences in what inflation has done, right, to our school districts and the cost of materials. And furthermore, we were doing a lot of just catching up and repairing from what COVID and COVID lockdowns had done. The next slide I'm going to set up a little bit. It is a slide given by the Texas Education Agency. The Commissioner of Education gave it to our House and Senate elected officials. It's important to note that our elected officials are what we refer to as non-professional legislators, meaning that they do not get a full-time salary for being elected officials, right? So the majority of their time is spent doing something else. And so the updates that they receive from the commissioner, right, are pretty important to them, all right? So the slides on the next, are the slides that I'm going to show you on the next, my slide, are what was shown to the committee. So if you are a committee member that is not ingrained in public school finance, what are you thinking about the state of Texas public school finance? Promise is my only interactive part. What do you think? Is it good? All the arrows are going up, right? It looks, you guys, the arrows are, they're green. It's green, right? But here's what we need to do as community members, as board members, is to remind our elected officials that in a part of this pie graph, right, we have this blue bit right here. This is federal dollars. Were federal dollars divided up equally amongst all of our Texas public school students? No, right? They never have been. That's the purpose. They're equitable measure, but they're not. They shouldn't go into this number that's over here, right? That's not statistically fair. What about this red number is interest in sinking? That is the amount of funding that is given to voter-approved bonds, right? Are bonds distributed equally across all school districts? No, it depends on each district. But in this pie chart, it seems like everybody's getting similar access to that funding, right? In reality, we know that that's not the case. So it's not our job necessarily in those visits to say, no, you're wrong, Commissioner, right? We can say, this is not accurate necessarily, but it's our job to say, what's going on in Edgewood, right? What's going on in Bear County? What are our budgets and what are we really faced with when trying to provide a comprehensive, top-notch education for our kids? Okay, so next slide, same deal. Let's keep going so we can talk through your legislative agenda, because I know I'm going to run out of time. So the legislative agenda that you all are putting through today, I'll say one thing about the other thing. That is why today in the resolution for school funding, the more that we're elevating, right, what's going on in our school districts, right, the better. And that is why it's so critical for that statement to be really strong, right, and elevated to say this is our #1 priority, right? So that's why it's really a separate resolution, something that is really, right, vital and important for us all to say, hey, here's what's going on. And your resolution does a really great job. I didn't write it, so I'm not patting myself on my back. But it does a really great job of talking about some of those details and the statistics behind it. Okay, so let's talk through Edgewood ISD's legislative agenda. As Dr. H mentioned earlier, it reflects a lot of what is going on across Bear County. We do represent the majority of Bear County ISDs in the area, but I also know that your teams have talked about making sure that these points reflect the needs within Edgewood as well. So for your funding points, I believe you have copies of this, so I'm going to go through it quickly. I don't expect you to necessarily read everything on this particular slide, right, first and foremost, it is really about that top bullet point in ensuring that we've got to have part of our school finance system that is based upon a national economic standard. Legislative agenda coming around to you all now, so you can have a copy as we go through it. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't say and now. So that's coming around. We also currently, as you all know, have a school finance system that is based on attendance rather than enrollment, right? A punitive system that when our students are really struggling, right, at home, instead of allowing our school districts to dedicate that money to programs that we know could make a difference to get them in seats, right, that money is taken away from our school districts. And so we're asking for more of our programs to be based on enrollment. And the third bullet point is we still want to say, you know, that education savings accounts are not going to be implemented. We need are not going to be beneficial for children and for families. And if you intend to move any public dollars, as we say at this point, to private entities, there has to be some marker and equitable accountability and financial accountability system, right? Those are public dollars, taxpayer dollars, and we should be able to follow that. Last voucher was $10,000 per person. That is well and above an average property tax bill. And so it is going to be paid by our taxpayers, and that's the purpose of, right, governmental spending, is understanding where those dollars go. And of course, if we're continuing to really provide the future of our workforce, our CTE programs should respond to that. Great slide that you all, I think, have seen before about the impact of inflation, and something that we will continue to share with our elected officials. We have ongoing costs too, right? Fuel, insurance, food, other things that every family is following the impact of. And even though that has happened in a dramatic double-digit, right, percentage, here's what's happened to our basic allotment. This is the Price is Right, womp, 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 right? Like that's the noise that should happen after that, right? If we had tracked it to inflation in 2019, here's what it would have done. And that is incredibly different, right, from what we're seeing. Furthermore, if we look in some of our most vulnerable students, and can I pass out the other handout? I've got one other handout. Thank you so much. For our vulnerable students in the special education landscape, thank you. This is even more critical. By the way, the Texas Education Agency recently said that there is a $2 billion funding gap between what is required for us to implement and what we should implement, right, in school classrooms, what we're required to implement according to the federal government, and what our state is providing.
right? And we see that in real time in Edgewood ISD's number when we're not, right, seeing the formula funding respond to the needs of our kids. I just passed around this slide that TEA doesn't advertise as much because I think it's probably the most accurate depiction of what's going on in Texas school finance. It includes weighted average daily attendance, so it's daily attendance, right? Here's the actual amount of money we are getting based on attendance, not on enrollment or membership. It also is just state and local, right? So it's not including an average of federal funding. And if you look at that last line, it's total revenue adjusted for inflation. And so if you look at fiscal year 2015, you're seeing that number per kid as $6,900 in 2015. And if you move your finger across all the way to fiscal year 2023, you're seeing that we are now receiving, right, track to inflation, $6,669. I've gone way over time, but really quickly, for our school safety, you all know this well, and I know we're going to get an amazing update about just how much you all are doing, even though the state continues to underfund you, to the tune of, we'll see this in a second for Edgewood, but as a reminder for parents and community members in the audience, the state only gives us $10 per kid. Right? Like that's the value of school safety that has been determined by the state of Texas. Now we do get $15,000 per campus, but that is nowhere near, right, the amount of coverage in terms of school safety. You all are investing $3.2 million, which you all have done, right, have approved and made a very concerted decision based on community feedback. That's what's needed. But there is a significant funding gap based on the amount of funding that you are receiving from the state. Furthermore, there are no direct funding for mental health from the state, and so one of our legislative points is asking for mental health funding. For accountability, I've included a quick review of what's included in our current accountability system. There's a lot of knowledge about how many indicators go into our current accountability system. And so I wanted to make sure that you all had and were able to point out to your constituents 100% of elementary and middle school is based on STAR. We do have different metrics that go into college and career readiness for secondary education, but that, I make it seem really simple, but there are approximately 1,400 or so, somebody's going to correct me if I'm wrong, indicators that go into our accountability system. So while it makes it seem like it's a very straightforward system, it is a really convoluted, complicated calculation that I do not envy our CNI and accountability and network of great, all the folks that go into the data collection. We are currently in a lawsuit, and we're in a lawsuit because I use this metaphor about how accountability has changed. This is, I think, an analogous application of policy and law. You have a tax code that's established, a year that it applies to, then the accountant or you or whoever is struggling through H&R Block, whatever you use, right, submits it based on that tax year, and then your payment and refund is determined. For our accountability and why we had many school districts join in the lawsuit is because really the biggest difference, and I want to say, we don't have to go through the whole thing, is you have senior assessments and graduate, you have the school year, and then from May 2022, when the first indicator is taken, you have the rules that are applied to that almost a full year and a half later. And that is actually counter to what is required for the Texas Education Agency to do in statute. Lastly, for teacher retention and recruitment, you all, just like the school funding, are not alone in what we're seeing in vacancy rates. Here is what we looked at in the 2019-2020 school year for our area ISDs, and here is where we are were for the 2022-2023 school year. So everybody is hurting on those particular rates. I have some terms for education savings accounts. We don't need to go through that. You all will receive a copy of these slides, but I know that your constituents, your community will continue to have questions about why vouchers, why ESAs are potentially harmful. Edgewood has a very unique and personal story to tell in this, and I highly recommend you continue to talk about the impact of past programs that have had on your communities. But if you need, especially as elected officials, right, especially as board members, what are you called to do as elected officials to protect? It is about being transparent, about your representation, and about equity. I apologize for going so over time, but thank you so much for the invite to be a part of your workshop tonight. I'm happy to stick around and address any questions, or of course I'm always available.
Questions, guys? Thank you, Julia.
Yes, thank you guys for having me.
And board members, we will have the presentation for you in the board update this week, and Julia, also thank you, because there's a lot of slides I say I can use for my presentation. But
Yes, please.
again, we'll have that for you, and we'll probably invite Julia to come back in the spring. Depending on her availability, she'll spend most of her time at the legislative session, and that is a lot of the work we'll be doing this spring. I'm hoping we can bring her back down as we get more information during the session. So our next presenter up is Chief Quiroga. Can you get his presentation up? And we will go ahead and start with that. Board members, you should have his presentation for the safety update.
Good afternoon, board members, board president, Dr. Hernandez, and staff. My update is going to be very brief, and board is going to be basically the same as I've done before. Our auditors are continuing to come to our campuses and check our security. We're going to talk about as before, we're going to talk about our audits and what the auditor looks for, and one issue that we did have at our last audit. Currently, we've had 5 audits to report for this presentation. We were successful in accomplishing the goal of the audits, as no auditor was able to gain entry into the building. That is that's one of the things that I'm most proud of. Since we started, we've defeated every auditor that's come to our school district. They have not been able to gain entry. The schools that were recently audited were Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls, Loma Park Elementary, Learn for Life, John F. Kennedy, and Perales Elementary. What auditors look for when they come in is a couple of things, right? Their number one goal is to gain access. Our auditors have not been able to gain access. I'm kind of glad I'm following Ms. Julia, because one of the things that she talked about in her presentation is the mandates that the state is giving us, right? They're because in Uvalde, they came up with a bunch of ideas on safety, but they didn't give us the finances for it. So on top of everything else that school districts have to do, now we also have to dedicate people to maintain weekly logs to go out there and check our campuses. So can you imagine a principal's daily life? You know, having to educate our kids, having not only to educate them, look out for their well-being, make sure that they're okay in school, but now they also have to dedicate somebody to come and check doors weekly. And if we don't provide the log, then the state comes in and tells us that we're not doing a good job. So these are just some of the extras that the state is making us do. We have over 700 doors here in our district, and our PPS team works diligently to make sure that they're always maintained. At Learn for Life, one door was found that needed to be addressed by the auditor, right? What he wanted to make sure that door was closed always. We try to explain to our auditor that sometimes there's going to be situations where doors are going to be open because our staff is coming in and coming out. Some of our doors do lead to courtyards that are secure. In this situation, every auditor is their own world, right? Every human has their own opinion. On this one, he told us that for the future, if there's going to be people utilizing doors, he'd like to see somebody present while the door is being utilized, and that's an easy fix. So we've submitted it, and it's been taken care of. That is the end of my presentation. It was very, very, very brief. We have to do this every time an auditor comes and there's some sort of issue. I will gladly present issues like this all the time if I have to, which means that there was just an issue with the door. our number one thing is to make sure that the auditor doesn't, penetrate our campuses, because if he does, then that means that a bad guy could penetrate our campuses. Any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Okay, so 2 questions. One, who does the checking of the doors on a daily basis?
Sir, we assign different employees. Mr. Williams and his team, our custodians, have, fortunately, the main duty to check the doors. Our police officers will also check the doors, and then, our principals and assistant principals will assign other staff members to check doors.
They check off on that list?
Yes, sir.
Very good. The second one is, so when the auditor or inspector or whatever his title is, what I understand is they don't let you know they're here.
They don't let us know that they're here, sir. No, sir.
So if they find a door open, do they ask, once they brought it to either your attention or reservoir, or they ask why the door is open? What I'm getting at is, was that door open? If it's during the day, and somebody's there, do they ask you why the door open? Did you know it was open? That kind of question?
Yes, sir. So, well, thank you for that question. In their haste right now, and I know that they mean well, in their haste right now, the state put out a bunch of rules for us with not a lot of explanation and mainly check boxes. I think because of the Uvalde incident, they were just scrambling to try to figure out, this is how we're gonna make things safe. And so, I'm not sure what training the auditors get, and I'm not sure what their background is, unfortunately, but sometimes we do talk to some auditors. But again, the most polite way I can say it is, these auditors are their own world, their own mind, so sometimes they may interpret the rules in front of them their own way.
I still can't wrap my head around this. So, if I'm the auditor, and I show up, let's just for argument's sake, let's say in County High School,
Yes, sir.
and there's a door open, and and I cite that, and I bring you the report, and I tell you, look, there was one door open at County High School, whatever the case is. And I ask you, and I'm saying this because of my background. I was an inspector for 30 years, and the book that the city gave me was not a Bible, it's a guideline.
Yes, sir.
So I'm thinking that way. So if he comes and tells you this was open, can you explain to me why? And you tell him, well, we had, I'm going to the worst case scenario, we had deliveries.
Yes, sir.
The door's open. We got people going in and out. I got a lady standing there, and the gentleman's coming in and out.
Yes, sir.
Any cite you for that?
Yes, sir.
Well, so, that being said, can't you write a letter to either his boss or somebody that sent him to our school and say, look, there's a reason you cited me for this. Not because we were lax and we didn't care or we oversaw it, whatever the case is.
Yes, sir. That's
So
it.
I have an issue with that they're coming to cite us and they leave, and everybody thinks that we weren't doing it, that, let's just say that Mr. Williams was not doing their job. That's not fair. So either we have their because with the city, if one of my guys did an inspection and the contractor didn't think it was fair, he called the supervisor, he called me.
Yes, sir.
I went and looked at it, and you're right, this was should, whatever the case is. So I don't think they're being, either they're not certified, just get them off the street and hire them, and we're getting dinged. That's not right.
Yes, sir. One thing that I will tell you, academics, Mr. McElvain has actually helped me in situations like that where we did contest some findings because of the situation. But again, because they don't really give us any guidelines on how to contest the findings, it takes time. But we did write a letter, and we did get an audience, and we did get some of our findings overturned because we were actually correct and the auditor was not correct. Okay? Yes, sir. Any other questions?
I actually kind of want to think off of him because of the fact that So, and let's say if it's not even during the transition, and they're having to go all the way to the front of the school just to enter the building. And that campus, Fine Arts, is not fenced like the other schools are. So that puts our kids at a higher risk, because it's like, we're protecting everybody that's in the building, but we're forgetting about the students that are having to, transition from outside to in.
That right there, ma'am, was one of our victories. Thank you for bringing that up, because that was one of our victories that we have with the state. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Holmes.
All right, thank you, Chief, and thank you, everybody, for your questions. We'll go ahead and transition to our third presentation. This is going to be Mr. Chavez's groups are coming up next for their presentation, middle school principals. Yeah, middle school.
Okay, mic's on. Well, good evening, Board President, Ms. Castilla, Board members, Dr. Hernandez, staff and community. Tonight, I'm happy and proud to introduce our 4 middle grades principals who will share information about their schools, including their board-aligned goals, initiatives, and data. Throughout the presentation, you'll notice that specific references to a number of our board goals that have direct impact on our middle schools. In particular, our principals will share their campus efforts toward meeting goal number 3, priority 1, which is to improve college, career, and military readiness. They'll also reference goal 4, priority 2, improve two-way communication and parent engagement, and goal 5, improve student life readiness skills for students in grades 6 through 12. You will also see efforts toward the superintendent's non-negotiables around attendance and accountability ratings. Board, your role is critical to our success as you have set clear goals for improvement in our campuses. You assist in monitoring our progress toward these goals. You help us engage the community, and you allocate resources to the schools. We do sincerely appreciate your work toward these ends and invite you to listen intently and ask us questions at the end of the presentation. Ultimately, our middle school campuses strive toward our district's vision for every child's success in life, Edgewood Proud, and our #1 outcome, which is to graduate all scholars, career, college, and military ready per their expected date of graduation. I'll bring your attention to the top of this slide. Our work and what you'll hear this evening is driven by Edgewood ISD's North Star goal. The number of STAR accountable campuses rated A or B will increase from 4 to 16 by June 2028. Tonight's presentation aims to share our middle school performance goals, alignment with our district's strategic goals, and current progress toward these goals. Sharing with you this evening will be Dr. Mario Duran, principal of Roy Cisneros Leadership School for Boys, Ms. Faye Sanchez, principal of Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation, Mr. Joel Garcia, principal of Gus Garcia University School, and Dr. Monica Munoz, principal of Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls. Our superintendent, Dr. Hernandez, has clearly communicated 5 non-negotiables that impact the work of district and campus staff, and the first is around accountability ratings, which support our North Star goal. All of the initiatives, metrics, and data collection that you'll hear tonight are strategically implemented to move our campuses toward these goals. And now our learning outcomes for this evening include providing you with a comprehensive overview of current enrollment, program offerings, and performance metrics for each of our middle schools, showcasing opportunities for our scholars, acknowledging barriers toward our goals, explaining the initiatives implemented to close achievement gaps, and we want to present key performance indicators for each campus to monitor and evaluate progress. So our 4 middle schools, including the middle grades programs at Las Palmas and Cisneros Leadership Schools, are operated and managed by 1882 partners, and I'm pleased to introduce this evening. I'm pleased to introduce them to you again this evening. Mr. Israel Cordero is the CEO of Friends of P-Tech, the operating partner for Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation. Ms. Delez Gonzalez is the Executive Director for School Operations with TCIS, which operates Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls and Roy Cisneros Leadership School for Boys. And Dr. Salma Boyd is the faculty in residence with the Institute of School and Community Partnerships at Gus Garcia University, powered by Texas A&M San Antonio. They will each briefly share a bit about the campuses and how their partnerships with Edgewood ISD make our schools unique learning environments for our Edgewood scholars. And so please, board, at this time, if our operating partners will come, and please stand at your assigned podiums. And first up will be Mr. Israel Cordero with our Friends of PTAC.
Good evening, Board of Trustees.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Hernandez, and the leadership team from Edgewood ISD. My name is Israel Cordero. It is a pleasure to stand here before you on behalf of our middle school campus here today. This is my 27th year in education, and it's been an absolute pleasure collaborating and partnering with the Edgewood ISD leadership team and with the Friends of PTEC staff to support Claudia Sanchez in her efforts to improve Brentwood. Our partnership with Friends of PTEC enhances our student experiences in career and technical education by providing access to a variety of STEAM opportunities, that's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, through strategic initiatives such as field trips, which we'll share with you shortly, summer camps, and school events. And I'm going to skip to the bottom. Our ultimate objective is to equip students with the academic and technical expertise necessary for in-demand careers of the 21st century. One thing that was just shared by Travis is ensuring that our students don't just graduate from high school, but they graduate with the skills necessary to enter college, career, or the workforce, and to ensure when they graduate, they're also life ready. And so even though we're supporting a middle school campus, we know that the end goal is not just to support students that are graduating from high school, but to ensure they're college ready, career ready, and life ready when they leave Edgewood ISD. We have a great slide here. This is the last slide that I have, but I want to direct you to the pictures first. On the top left, I was not able to attend that, and I'm not a jealous person, but I will say that I was jealous that I wasn't able to attend that. We sent 90 students to NASA this past summer. Over the last couple of years, we've had some summer activities for our students that resulted in the students going on summer activities. And we doubled this past summer the number of students that were going on, that participated in summer camps. And so it was great to send that many students off to NASA. The second picture that you see is Port Essay. And the last picture that you see is the Tobin Center. On the right, you see the CTE course offerings, you see honors course offerings, and then partnerships. If I could just take you first with 6th grade, and then I'll move over to 7th and 8th. 6th grade, we had Project Lead the Way at Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation. The short version of Project Lead the Way is it introduces our scholars to engineering. And so that's a great course, it's a great opportunity for our scholars. Something that we've been really proud of is the College Board curriculum, Springboard in several of our classes, which includes reading, language arts. And so Springboard is a very intense curriculum that we're exposing our students to. That's in the honors curriculum. And then partnership, and this is 6th grade. With a partnership with the D. Howard Foundation, we were able to introduce students at Brentwood STEAM School of Innovation to a drone curriculum. And the drone curriculum has really been a highlight there at the campus, and we look forward to continuously getting more students to participate in that. 7th grade, this is something that is a partnership with Edgewood ISD, and that's college and career exploration. And that's just ensuring that our students have a chance to see all of the different opportunities. We know that when students get to high school, they get really nervous and anxious about what they want to be when they grow up, when they graduate from high school. And so this is an opportunity for students to explore that. And then partnership that we have with 6th, 7th, and 8th is a great partnership with Fort SA. 8th grade is robotics, drone, curriculum, video game design, advanced opportunities in math in 6th grade. And then we do have a great relationship with San Antonio Community College, not just in one space, but multiple spaces. So this is the Scobie Education Center. And just lastly, I would like to say that this summer, 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders all participated in a summer camp. And that's the second year in a row that we've doubled the numbers of students participating in summer camp. Of course, we're not just trying to increase the participation we have of students by exposing them to the careers in science, technology, engineering, and math, but we are purposefully trying to ensure that students have what they need to continuously grow academically at Brentwood School of Innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Cordero. I'm going to pass it over now to Ms. Liz Gonzalez, who's going to talk to us about the uniqueness of our leadership school and the unique partnership that we have with TCIS.
Good afternoon, Madam President, Dr. Hernandez, and school board members. I am Delez Gonzalez, the Executive Director of Operations for Texas Council for International Studies, or TCIS. Today, I will provide an overview of the International Baccalaureate IB Middle Years Program at Roy Cisneros Leadership School for Boys and Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls. The IB is a globally recognized program for students ages 3 through 19, focusing on critical thinking, intercultural understanding, and a holistic and conceptual learning. The MYP for ages 11 through 16 emphasizes academic achievement, personal growth, and global awareness through interdisciplinary learning and real-world applications. The process to become an authorized IB World School for the MYP takes approximately 3 years. Now on to Cisneros Leadership School for Boys. It is a candidate IB World School which provides transformative environment that goes beyond the academics. The MYP framework fosters well-rounded, reflective, and globally aware young men. Students can leave Roy Cisneros with 3 years high school credits at the end of this year. The curriculum emphasizes hands-on learning with required Spanish classes for all, along with design classes in coding, robotics, and media skills. We are working hard to increase the student enrollment, and we need support from the district and the community to attract young men to Roy Cisneros. By offering UIL athletics and CTE courses in the future, we are confident enrollment will increase. Middle schoolers embody the IB learner profile attributes like being principled and caring by mentoring elementary students and setting a foundation of character. Spaces like the locker room that's been created this year and the college room supports emotional well-being and college readiness. On November 9th, RCLS is hosting the San Antonio's first TEDx event. It's called TEDx RCL Youth, and its theme is Breaking Barriers, which is a first here in San Antonio. Very proud of that team for bringing that to Edgewood as well. Roy Cisneros Leadership School for Boys nurtures young men to lead with integrity and purpose. Along with Las Palmas, Roy Cisneros also, we did a summer program called Summer Boost, where we received a grant from the Bloomberg Foundation this year, and so we had our middle schools attend that Summer Boost camp, and that was amazing. So on to Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls. It is also a candidate IB MYP school which focuses on leadership and service. The MYP framework teaches conceptually through inquiry and encourages collaboration. Leaders can leave Las Palmas with 3 high school credits as well at the end of the school year. MYP design classes here use the design cycle to promote critical thinking skills for all students. Another requirement for all leaders is Spanish, which provides learning of multiple Spanish cultures along with the second language acquisition for all students. Weekly rallies unite the school community around the IB learner profile attributes, promoting care, reflection, and global awareness. Students set personal and academic goals and share progress in student-led conferences with their parents. Alongside academics, our Girls UIL Athletics program builds teamwork and resilience. The MYP design course encourages middle schoolers to lead events like Day of the Girl for elementary students, fostering mentorship. Students also visit universities, including UT Austin, exposing them to higher education opportunities. Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls is dedicated to shaping young leaders who excel academically, personally, and in their communities. So these two IB schools that are candidate schools are really paving the way for our global leaders and thinkers.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. And now Dr. Summerboyd will, who's with us from the Institute powered by Texas A&M University San Antonio at Gus Garcia University School, will share.
Thank you. I started off our presentation because it's supposed to be our elevator speech, but just I have to explain this to a lot of people whenever I go to different places about what an 1882 school is. So they were authorized through the Texas legislature in 2017, and it just offers the school district the opportunity to exist in partnership with other entities, and Texas A&M is just one of those entities. And the Institute of School and Community Partnerships is what we're doing through A&M and at GUS. So that's what I have here. It's extremely important to talk about what sets us apart at GUS. I think that it's important to lean into the legacy and honoring the traditions of a middle school, even when you are a partner, because those things are important to the community. So even as an 1882 campus, the traditions of GUS are upheld in many circumstances, and if you look on when I get to the next slide, our new branding even incorporated the lovely charter that was already in existence prior to the partnership. This university partnership does have a commitment in upholding the true partnership aspect. Everything that is done in true partnership with the district, through that lens. The university is not coming to the school or to the community to do something to the community, but rather working collaboratively with the district, with the school, and with the community to do something to decide on what to do with the community. That's very important. We are an international lab school, accredited lab school, and as a lab school, pre-service teachers have the place to observe problems of practice, as well as get a realistic glimpse of what's happening in today's classrooms. And this is a crucial moment in the profession of education. We're seeing so many teachers come in without a true understanding of what to expect. They're burning out and they're leaving the profession, creating a very difficult gulch for us to feel. So it allows them that opportunity to see the current state of education as they're transitioning into the classroom. But it also gives faculty at universities like myself the opportunity to conduct research to help complete that research to practice link. We need people who are dedicated to research, but we also need people who are dedicated to doing the work and the practice, because without practice, what do we research? And without research, how do we improve on our practice? So that is something that's very important about being a lab school. The partnership also shows the community that there are people willing to invest in the community. And it really gives the people at the university, the faculty members who have their hand in helping support a K-12 campus, something to feel proud of. And it also gives the community with a connection, because they really do feel their connection to the university. It works both ways, where both parties feel very connected to something bigger and something greater than themselves. It's a source of pride for us all. Other mutual beneficial relationships that have existed in the community and that we've been able to continue and improve upon or bring in as new are youth services, HISPA. We work with the neighborhood place. We've been helped out by State Representative Ray Lopez for events, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of San Antonio, Well Point, and the Diaper Bank. And most recently, our bilingual education student organization from Texas A&M hosted its first Vestidos at Gus, which was the first of its kind for middle school students, because this is a college, it is a university organization. But they're bringing in middle school students to help celebrate and embrace their culture, and hopefully they're pouring into the next generation and empowering them to want to be bilingual educators. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyd, and thank you to each of our 1882 partners for being here this evening and for supporting our campuses. Now you can have a seat, and now our principals will come up and get into our special initiatives, our goals, our metrics, and the current data to share with the board. First, Dr. Mario Duran, principal of Boise Cisneros Leadership School for Boys, will kick off the principal portion of the presentation, sharing enrollment, demographics, and attendance information for each of our middle schools.
So good afternoon, Madam President, Dr. Hernandez, school board members, and everyone here this evening. It's our pleasure to be here. This is actually my first time here addressing the board. It's a great opportunity for us to share these exciting times that are happening in all of our campuses here at Red Independent School District. And so it is my pleasure, my responsibility to talk to you about it, be as transparent as we possibly can about our campuses, but also our efforts that we're putting forward to make sure our campuses are the best campuses here in San Antonio. So I will start with this slide, if you can reference to it whenever you want to, it's going to talk about some terms and acronyms that you'll be looking through as I go through the slides. So I'll leave it up, but again, if you do have the PowerPoint with you, at any time you can reference back to it if you need to make the slide something or reference it. And so here we see the current enrollment totals for all of our 4 campuses, and I will leave this up here for a couple of seconds so you can just have that as a point of reference. And now here again we see what our special programs categories include in all of the 4 campuses. They go from our special education, our emergent bilingual, our gifted and talented, economically disadvantaged, at risk, 504, and dyslexia. And I'll leave this up here for your reference so that way you can see the percentages of these special populations within our 4 campuses. And here are staff demographics. I'm not going to go over all of these numbers. What I do want you to look and consider is we have a total of 11 new teachers that are spread out throughout our 4 campuses. We have about 42 teachers that either have 1 to 5 years of experience, and the rest are 6 years. So we have 4 middle school teachers in Las Palmas, 3 at Boise Cisneros, 32 at Brentwood, and 37 in just Garcia. And now, in expressing our superintendent's non-negotiable number 2 of attendance, this is a push that we as a unit of campuses are making sure that we do every single day to make sure that we have our students in our classrooms and ready to learn. And so attendance continues to be a key focus in all of our campuses. And each campus is planning and implementing creative approaches to help support and increase our attendance rate. The goal is to ensure that all of our students are present, but not just present, but that they are prepared to enjoy a meaningful daily experience. And that's what we really pride ourselves on. We don't just want our students in our seats, but we want them to have a meaningful learning experience at the end of every single day. In addition to that, we've noticed that since COVID-19, we have experienced a slow attendance recovery. However, we are working at finding solutions to this issue. And each campus has attendance goals that are both monitored on the district level, but at the same time at the campus levels. So this is a constant conversation that we have every single day. And here, there's a lot to celebrate at our campuses with attendance, and as we track our attendance rate, often there is evidence of efforts of our campuses doing just that. We continue to ensure that students are present and prepared to engage in a meaningful learning experience. So we see the majority of our campuses reaching and exceeding their goals. The next couple of slides will give a clearer picture of how that looks. Here we see current trends. It's a bird's eye view of each campus's goals and trends. And as you can see, over the last 2 years, our rates have increased. What you will also see is that currently all 4 campuses are exceeding their 2024-2025 attendance goal. And this is something to really be proud of all of our campuses, because their efforts are really are producing the effort that we want, which is to have our students in our classrooms every day. And lastly, our commitment for increasing attendance has and will continue to push all of our campuses to find creative solutions. These creative solutions range from student-led attendance committees, PBIS attendance incentive, home visits when necessary, among others. And we will continue to work on having our students in our great schools every single day. And now I will pass it to Ms. Claudia Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Duran. Good evening, Board President Castilla, board members, Superintendent Hernandez, staff and community. The next portion of our presentation centers around trends in student performance and achievement on STAR 2.0. This first slide has key terms and acronyms that we will use and discuss during this portion of the presentation. Please take a few minutes to review this page. This page is also for your purview as we go through the presentation. Our goal as middle school principals is to increase STAR performance by 5% in the means grade level standard. For us, this means that students will be performing at their current grade level with targeted interventions. In order to increase student performance, we are focused on key initiatives such as integrating interventions during the school day, providing Tier 1 instruction, using high-quality instructional materials, professional learning communities, and professional development for our teachers and staff. We measure progress on these initiatives through embedded assessments, classroom walkthroughs, and STAR interim assessments. Our key action will also support an increase in the overall component of the STAR accountability ratings. So we'll take a dive into our data. The first data set that we will discuss today pertains to Algebra 1. Algebra 1 provides middle school students the opportunity to earn a high school credit, thereby accelerating their progress towards our number 1 outcome of graduating all scholars, college, career, or military ready per their expected date of graduation. Despite a slight decrease between 2023 and 2024 data for some of our middle schools, this end of course exam shows that our middle school scholars excel not only above the district, but also above the district, the region, and the state. It is important to note that Las Palmas and Cisneros Leadership Schools are in the first year of offering Algebra 1, therefore there is no data available. As we advance to the biology end of course exam, Gus Garcia University School has demonstrated an improvement in 2023 to 2024 data. Biology 1 also allows students to earn high school credit towards their science requirements for high school graduation. To support our scholars in their academic endeavors, the middle school campuses parallel performing high leverage standards back into the content areas and offer checkpoints for targeted interventions.
We also offer after-school tutorials in Saturday schools. Additionally, to improve teacher craft and increase student outcomes, we work collaboratively with the district to offer focused professional development, support lesson internalization through structured POCs, and engage in coaching and feedback sessions. We will now take a look at 8th grade data. 8th grade data does not include the leadership schools because this 2024-25 school year is the first year they have an 8th grade class. Brentwood City School of Innovation and Gus Garcia University School follow the state trends in 8th grade student performance. These data sets show a decrease in reading, math, and science at the state level. Let's take a closer look at 8th grade language arts, or RLA for short. Due to the way that STAR was assessed between 2023 and 2024, students at both campuses show a decrease in reading performance. This is an area of focus, and we are taking action to increase student outcomes in the RLA content. Students have extended learning opportunities to include tutorials, Saturday school, and targeted interventions in the classroom. Furthermore, we also support teacher craft through targeted professional development, unit planning sessions, and structured POCs centered around lesson internalization. Our 8th grade scholars also show a dip in 8th grade math data. This was a trend across the state as evidenced by post-pandemic disruptions to learning and mastery of foundational skills and math concepts. For us, this means that we must continue to accelerate student learning through targeted interventions and research-based instructional strategies, as well as building teacher capacity. This will reinforce skills that will support the rigor of the TEKS and, of course, STAR 2.0. 8th grade science saw a decrease in student performance at both campuses. This also followed the state trend in this content. This year, we are addressing gaps in student performance through the lens of a new curriculum and updated standard. 8th grade social studies, similar to state patterns, showed a decrease in the approaches grade level standard. To address this content, we are implementing literacy-based strategies into the social studies curriculum. For both science and social studies, we also extend tutoring and Saturday school opportunities for our students and professional development opportunities, including content editing sessions for our staff. Moving to 7th grade, we will first take a look at our day. Data across all campuses indicate that we are performing below the state average. Both comprehensive middle schools showed a decline in scores. This is a reflection of the change in the design of and changes to STAR 2.0. The data in front of us also shows a decline in 7th grade math for both Gus Garcia University School and Brentwood STEAM, which is also consistent with state trends. For the leadership schools, standalone data also demonstrates the need for growth. As shared for the previous content and grade levels, the campuses are providing targeted interventions and supports in the classroom via focused Tier 1 instruction and Tier 2 interventions, as well as supports to build teacher capacity and increase student achievement and outcomes. As we take a look into our next data set, I want to remind us that 6th grade is a transitional year for our scholars. We will first look at reading. We have varied results in the data, but all middle schools perform below state average. This indicates a need for accelerated learning. We are addressing this through our district's priorities, Tier 1 instruction, and high-quality instructional materials. Students are supported through in-class interventions, reteach plans, and tutoring sessions. Content deepening sessions and pedagogy supports are provided to our teachers to increase their impact in developing assessment-capable learners. As we look at 6th grade math, student performance indicates a need for improvement across all campuses. To address this area of need, the district adopted a new curriculum, Carnegie Math, which is designed specifically to address many of the deficits that the data demonstrates. We support our students, as in other content areas, with a tier level of instruction and academic supports. This concludes the star performance data portion of the presentation. I would be remiss if I did not recognize the Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Department, Office of School Leadership, and the Office of Innovation for the support and guidance provided to the campuses. In addition, I would like to thank our 1882 operating partners for each of our middle schools. And of course, our superintendent and board of trustees for their unwavering support. We are committed to improving student outcomes. Mr. Joel Garcia, our distinguished Gus Garcia University School Principal, will be presenting the next segment.
Good evening, Dr. Hernandez, President Castilla, and board members. I'm Joel Garcia. I am the principal at Gus Garcia University School. Thank you for having us here tonight. On this slide, HB 1416 is a Texas law that requires all students who do not achieve approaches or higher on the STAR 3rd through 8th grade to be provided accelerated instruction. Our goal is to decrease the number of students receiving HB 1416 services. Our current highlights include providing designated time during the school day for this instruction to take place. Our current barriers include high number of students and the changes that occur for tracking purposes and reporting back to the state. As of this month, 11% of these students have completed the hours using programs such as IXL, an area, and minimum of 2 times a week. In our current slide, you can see a number of key terms that will be utilized in our slides. Please take a few seconds to familiarize yourselves and feel free to look back at your slides during the presentation. Edgewood ISD, goal number 3 is to increase the college, career, and military readiness of our students by increasing our graduates who met the standard from 43% to 85% by June of 2027. At the middle schools, we support this goal by exposing students to our career and technology pathways through a course called College and Career Exploration. Currently, all 7th graders at Brentwood and Gus Garcia take this course. This year, our 8th graders at Gus Garcia are also enrolled in this course. The purpose of the class is to prepare students for success in one of the several CTE pathways available to them at our high schools, including advanced manufacturing, animation and gaming, audio video production, aviation, law enforcement, automotive, and business at Kennedy High School, or culinary, health science, teaching and learning, or business at Memorial High School, or cosmetology, welding, and engineering at the Fine Arts Academy. In Edgewood ISD, we want our middle school students to have opportunities to earn school credit throughout various offerings. When students gain credit for high school courses prior to 9th grade, it opens up opportunities for them to graduate with distinctions, prepares them for the rigor of high school courses, allows them to participate in more courses that are aligned with their interests, and ensures that they have room in their schedules for any needed interventions or support. Currently, the courses being offered for our high school credit focus on Goal 3, Priority 1. Students at all 4 campuses may receive credit for Spanish 1, Algebra 1. Roy Cisneros and Las Palmas also offer a credit in U.S. history. Brentwood students can add a credit for video game design and another credit for robotics and drone. While at Gus Garcia, students can earn high school credits in Spanish 2, Spanish 3, biology, and lifetime fitness and wellness. Our Goal 3 will increase from 43% to 85% by June 2027 by increasing the number of students who graduate with an industry-based certification and or completing a 4-year CTE pathway. Brentwood and Gus Garcia begin courses in CTE for our 8th graders, focusing on STEAM and public service tracks. This begins in 7th grade with career explorations that will match each individual interest in credits while in high school. This year, TEA initiated a requirement for high school students to have multiple lower and upper level classes in a single CTE pathway to qualify for an industry-based certification exam. Unfortunately, the risk here is that students whose interests change from one CTE pathway to another may not have an opportunity to become certified in that area if they don't have the minimum number of courses. Currently, to provide students with all of their information, they need to make a good decision about what coursework they are most interested in. We host presentations at our schools that have already taken place by our high school students with our own students. Additionally, our career extravaganza took place October the 30th, supporting our students on all of the pathways available in our district. 100% of our students at Brentwood and Gus Garcia are enrolled in career explorations, and our Naviance program provides lessons for all of our students with the help and guidance of our counselors in all 4 schools that support courses, offerings, and choices. This concludes my part of the presentation. Dr. Monica Munoz will share the final portion of our presentation this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, school board members, Dr. Hernandez, and district and community members. In the last section of our presentation, I will share insights into our extracurricular offerings, advanced coursework, parent engagement, campus student support services, and conclude with our appreciation of school board and district support systems. Each of our 4 middle schools provide a diverse array of extracurricular and fine arts activities that you can see listed in front. These offerings are crucial as they help students develop essential academic leadership and social skills. By participating in extracurricular activities, students learn how to balance their academic and extracurricular activities. Research does show that when students are involved in such activities, they will maintain higher grades and they will cultivate a sense of belonging to their school community. Indeed, our leaders embody the spirit of working hard while also enjoying their passions. Honors courses are available at each of our middle schools, reflecting our district's goal of increasing student exposure to higher levels of rigor and advanced coursework. This year, we've successfully implemented the required 6th grade advanced math course, which leads to the Algebra 1 pathway. Additionally, as we've heard, we offer different courses in subjects such as Algebra 1, Biology, and the Middle Years Program, MYP, for IB students at our schools. Each middle school campus is dedicated to providing opportunities for students to engage in honors coursework. However, one challenge that we do face is strategic staffing. Our campus principals are actively collaborating with district's human resource and teaching and learning departments to address this barrier and ensure our students do have access to the best educational opportunities available. One of the systems that EISD has in place is a coordination of services team. Coordination of services refers to a systematic approach to support student behaviors and needs. The Coordination of Service Committee is a collective group of advocates on campus that take a proactive approach to support students, staff, and parents. And here we see one of our parent advocate groups. Our commitment to fostering strong parent involvement in children's education is reflected in several initiatives aimed at improving two-way communication. Notably, each campus has seen an increase in the number of parent portal accounts from 2023 to 2024, enabling families to stay informed and engaged. To keep families updated, each campus has implemented weekly communication platforms that provide essential information and resources. Additionally, we host monthly parent meetings designed to empower families with strategies to support their child's academic success. Together, we are building a collaborative environment that enhances our students' educational experiences. This recent data highlights our campus's commitment to increasing parent volunteer participation at the schools. Engaging parents as volunteers not only strengthens our school community, but also enriches the educational experience of their child's life. By fostering a culture of involvement, we aim to create more opportunities for parents to contribute their time and talents, ultimately enhancing support for our programs and initiatives. We appreciate the efforts of our staff and parents in making this a priority, and we look forward to seeing even more growth in our volunteer engagement moving forward. Each of our campus teams is dedicated to providing a robust student support services that focus on social, emotional, and mental health. Our campus counselors and social workers play a vital role in this effort, offering guidance lessons and facilitating small group interventions to address the diverse needs of our students. These support services are designed to foster a positive school environment where our students feel safe and empowered. By prioritizing their well-being, we aim to equip them with the tools necessary for personal and academic success. Together, we are committed to nurturing the holistic development of every student that is in our care. Each campus collaborates closely with parents and various community organizations to support our students effectively. We recognize that parents are essential partners in their child's academic success, and we encourage their involvement through such initiatives like Cafecitos with the campus leadership team, First Friday, First Hour, and monthly ponchas with administration. Additionally, parents contribute to our 6th grade PALS program by serving as athletic coaches in partnership with SAPD. We also engage with community programs such as Big Brothers Big Sisters and invite community speakers for events like Fierce Female Fridays. Excitingly, we will soon introduce TEDx RCLS, further strengthening our partnerships and enhancing support for our students. Together, these efforts create a rich network of support that empowers our students and communities to thrive. Each initiative presented tonight is made possible due to the unwavering support of our school board. We sincerely appreciate the school board's advocacy, which plays a crucial role in achieving our goals and driving our progress. Thank you for your time, dedication, and commitment to fostering the academic success of our students. Together, we are making a meaningful impact on students' lives and futures. This concludes tonight's presentation by the middle school principals. On behalf of Mrs. Sanchez, principal of Brentwood Steam School of Innovation, Mr. Garcia, principal of Gus Garcia University School, Dr. Duran, head of school for Roy Cisneros Leadership School for Boys, and myself, head of school for Las Palmas Leadership School for Girls, we extend our heartfelt thanks to our school board, our 1882 partners, Dr. Hernandez, and members of the school leadership team. Your support for each of our schools is invaluable, and we are grateful for your dedication to our students and their success. Thank you.
Board members, do we have any questions at this time for the trustees?
Hi, my first question is, thank you for mentioning the parent portal system, but I was just wondering, how often do we tell our parents about the parent portal system? Like, do we just tell them at the beginning of the year, or is this something ongoing every year to make sure? Because realistically, I believe we also want 100% parents on parent portal. So I'm just wondering, like, how do we continue?
I can address that, and then colleagues can add if I miss anything. I presented that tonight. So one, yes, we do have that. It's weekly. We get an update as a principal every week on our parent portal increase. So every Friday in our update, we know we're moving that percentage. So we do have it posted on the outside of all of our schools. And then when they come in, there's this QR code. When they come into our front office, we also have it posted. Every parent event that we have, there's a table that says we are trying to increase our parent portal. Please stay informed of this. So I know it's on all of our radars, and then as well as in our newsletters, there's also a link. So anytime a parent comes in, we really try to encourage them, are you checking your child's grades? This is the way you can access it. Or we're getting ready to have an event take place. Can you please sign up through the parent portal? I don't know if I missed anything.
I also wanted to ask, with the parent portal system, or I was just curious on how do teachers contact parents? Is it through the parent portal system, or are there other systems softwares that we have to communicate with two-way communication?
Okay, we might not have different platforms, but I'll speak to our campus. So we do use a system-wide class dojo that allows all of our parents, it's controlled by the school, so we can send out quickly school messages. Then every teacher also can do that. They can send out quickly messages to them. Some of them have to use Google Voice as well so that they're not using their personal cell phone numbers to text message or contact parents. So that's one way that we quickly get parents informed, and then we also use our social media accounts.
For the most part, it's class dojo and also the school messenger. In addition, we just run it through the school messenger, and everyone who has their email on Frontline gets an automatic text or even a voice. So that's actually the easiest way. And also through the newsletters. But I know some parents still request for like a text because sometimes either it doesn't get home or they don't have social media, so they prefer something to come directly to them.
Those are all my questions for the principals. I just want to thank you. This was really informative, learning about like the extracurricular activities, learning about other things with the school, stuff we don't really get to hear about on a video. I was just wondering, Dr. Hernandez, after if I can ask the directors of the 1882s a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So my next question is the question to the directors of the 1882 partners. I first want to thank each and one of y'all for coming to our school district. This is the first time I get to actually see and talk to y'all. So I just want to thank you for traveling. My first question is, when I think of the 1882 partner, I think of a partnership that the school board forms with the other governing boards of the 1882s. But I first wanted to point out how I would like to think that the Institute of SA, because I really like their 1882 partners, because they have a website where you can actually see their board meetings, interact with the board agendas and stuff they're voting on. But I just wanted to ask, like the other 1882 partners, like the Texas IB, or maybe the Friends of PTech, I do know that y'all do have a website, but it's not really transparent to our community. We can't really, and no one can contact any board members, no one can contact the CEO. So I was just wondering how we can work together in increasing our transparency and visibility, because I believe it is beneficial that our community should know and should be able to be interacting with these other governmental agencies.
On our end, Friends of PTech will take that back and we'll figure out a way to immediately put, if it's not there, more information. So as needed, you can contact board members or send correspondence.
Because I'm familiar with your website. I have tried to access your website, but it's really not up to date, and it's just really important to keep our transparency.
Thank you. We'll look at it.
Did you want me, you had questions about ours? Ours is actually going through a rehaul right now. So it's been up ever since it was in existence, and we continue to add schools that become part of our partnership. But we've had some changes in leadership, and so we're actually currently working with our contractor to update that website. So it should be under construction right now, but it should be up and running shortly.
Thank you.
And to be honest, just to let you know, we do share out weekly newsletters that I send out to all of our districts. I include the Edgewood leadership, and there is contact information for myself and Margaret Davis at the end of that newsletter. And anytime, I mean, you can access that on our website currently, you should be able to. So if there's any kind of questions, you can always send those directly to us.
Thank you. And I also have interacted with, we also have another one called Learn for Life, and just putting some information, like some of the stuff they do is they actually put their agenda of their board meetings in the school campus, so just like, things we can do to like, improve transparency.
Yes, we post all of the board meeting agendas on we've actually posted it at Edgewood and on our schools within the time period that's required.
Thank you. My next question. My next question is for Dr. Hernandez, because I know that the 1882 partner, it's through Senate Bill 1882, and I know that like every 3 or 4 years, the school board is supposed to review the 1882 partners. So I was just wondering in the future, since we are approaching those 3 to 4 years, how we as a school district are going to be reviewing the 1882 charters.
So I'll start the answer to it. So actually, this is the first step towards that. This is why this year I asked that we change our workshops to have not just our 1882 partnerships, which just happens that our middle schools have OPs, but also all our other campuses, whether they be operator managed, whether they be district managed. This begins that conversation. In terms of formality, that is something that will have to come to the regular board at a regular board meeting. We'll rate the evaluation and performance of the said partner, and then at that point, we'll make a recommendation to the board based on student outcomes.
And we will put information in the board update regarding some of the links, and I'll follow up with the operating partners as well. We do formal monitoring in the campuses, and we have been doing that over the last several years, been working with the System of Great Schools and executive advisors to develop the tools and resources. All of our 1882 partnership schools are a part of all of the instructional rounds and walks that are currently taking place across the district. So while each of the schools offers a unique set of models, the partnership is very collaborative. Our contracts are 10-year contracts with performance reviews that happen yearly. Over the last several years, due to the pandemic and other things that have taken place, we have offered each other partnership and collaboration and understanding the lift with some of the models. A lot of our 1882 partnerships actually launched when schools were closed. And so we did have a few setbacks in getting everything up and running. And so we will continue to bring that. Our senior leadership team and cabinet goes through what we call the quality seats analysis, where we look at all schools. A lot of the presentations that you have been provided through academics and school leadership have been kind of a reflection of where all schools are in terms of letter grades and or, I know we've had a pause in accountability, but where they fare in terms of meeting the universal screener data, the middle of the year, beginning of the year, and end of the year. But we will start bringing those formally to you as a board to have discussions around what's happening with enrollment and projected goals of each of our contracts.
Thank you.
And this is for all the trustees, but if you do have any questions on the 1882s, remember, we can send those in to start with Ms. Castillo over there, and then we'll funnel them out to the appropriate folks. So, okay. Thank you. All right, well, our principal's transition, because it is kind of late, I know they have a full day around with kiddos. If anybody needs to take a quick restroom break, please do so at this time, and then Mr. Chavez is up next, and just in a few minutes, we've got 2 more presentations, and then we'll be done for the evening. Principals, thank you very much.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Hernandez, esteemed colleagues, and community members, welcome tonight. This is our leadership board presentation for our study session 4A on the agenda. We're going to go. Okay. Okay, tonight is our leadership board presentation. Our daily learning outcomes include 3 areas. The first is our strategic goal, grade 3 math, is a recurring item, so our Lone Star governance goal. Our 25-26 new courses offered, which is also a recurring item. And our campus improvement plans, which is also a recurring item. For our LSG for tonight, we're looking for November, and I have a picture here of our 2 elementary math coordinator and our district literacy coordinator. Ms. Bettis provided the LSG information for last board session, which was on English language arts or reading. Ms. Kristen Pata is our elementary coordinator. I've worked with her in putting these pieces together. And I also like to recognize Mr. Ernest Ruiz, our Director of Research and Evaluation, who assists with all of these data points also. Okay, so based on the monthly monitoring report that was approved by the board back in August, tonight we're looking at grade K, 1, and 2 mathematics as our goal progress measure. Here, we're utilizing this particular piece for our strategic plan. Goal 2, which is students in grade 3 meets at or above STAR mathematics, we're increasing 20% to 50% by 2027. I want to, as you can see these statistics are on track, the highlights and some of our risks and barriers. The key initiatives, however, is our goal is to implement Eureka math grades K through 4. And I want to thank the board of trustees for approving the Eureka math component. Also, Texas lesson study sessions that are held monthly for our coaches and administrators that work on lesson internalization. That's a big effort that we see throughout the district for our teachers to internalize that lesson prior to instruction. Also, make sure that our instructional coaches provide job-embedded coaching. Also, to ensure professional learning communities allow teachers to internalize their lessons and plan for small group instruction. Finally, a monitoring implementation of these strategies planned during the PLC, which you heard before from our middle school group, that instructional rounds and campus walks are happening weekly, sometimes, most times, up to 3 times a day. So the monitoring piece is on there for all the information that we're providing for you. So the first one is kindergarten. I want to give you an update on how this looks. I think you all are familiar with the cadence here. We have our baseline on the left in 2022 at 25%. Our end of year for kindergarten in 2023 was at 36%. Our 23 goal was at 31%. 2024 end of year was at 37%, and our goal for that particular year last year was at 37%. This year we are beginning of the year, and I want to state to everybody, this is beginning of the year data. And as we can see here on the highlights, over 2,000 students took this during the month of September 9th to the 20th. So I want to make sure everybody has that lens. This is beginning of the year where they're starting. And they started at 31%. The goal is 44% here. As requested, we have here a breakdown of all the subpopulations. These subpopulations are important in domain 1 for student achievement, as well as domain 3 for looking at growth in these areas. Now, I have here, and I don't have a pointer, at least I don't think I do. Upper left-hand corner is the scores. Notice that we have 30.56. That's what we mentioned here, 31% in the red. That's for all students. And we have all the campuses and their scores accordingly. Below that, bottom left is our emergent bilingual. Again, as we saw with reading, 38%, they're above, significantly above, our English language only group. On the upper left, upper right-hand corner is our special ed group, sitting at 17%. And bottom right is our EcoDis. Now again, EcoDis, because of the large number of EcoDis that we have, normally it falls within the same parameter. And there you can see 29.3, 30.5. So these trends kind of continue as we go on. The next one is grade 1. If we notice, we started 13% to 57% by the end of 27. There is our baseline on the left. End of year 23, ended at 21%. The goal was 22%. At the end of 24, our students were at 28%, and that goal was at 31%. Now, I want to also notice we started off at 19%, beginning of the year, first week of September. As I mentioned previously, Eureka Math was used as a pilot in first grade. And as you can see here, as we'll see later on, that grade of 28 increased substantially from in the upper teens. And that started just the pilot that began in January. So we saw them almost come up to their grade level. This year they're starting at 19% beginning of the year. Our target is at 39% for grade 1. Here is, again, we can see at 19.25. Our emergent bilingual at 27.5. Our special ed, we had no students meeting that particular grade point at 43 students total. In our eco-discipline, it mirrors the all students piece. As we go down to grade 2, grade 2 was one of the reasons why we implemented that Eureka Math, because first grade was very similar. We started at 9% in 22, 17% end of year, met that 17% goal in 23, and at the end of the year, 24, they stayed stagnant at 17, and their goal was at 26. This year, they started off at 15%, and their goal is at 34%. Again, Eureka Math, we're very confident the way it's going. All the monitoring of this, the training for students, the training for teachers, the training for instructional staff, and also the resources that are going up. They're also utilizing their beginning and end of unit assessments through Eureka. So we feel we're going to meet that 25 goal. Here again, we are at 15% for all students here. Emergent bilingual, look at that. It's kind of the same area, right? First time we see this. Our special ed at 3.45, and of course our EcoDis sitting at 13.6. As we go to grade 3, we started at 20%, ended the year in 23. For our third grade at 17%. The goal was 26% last year. We sat at 23%. Our goal was 32. And this year, our beginning of the year projected STAR proficiency is at 19%. Now, why do we have that in there? During the summer, we utilized a map, which you see in the very bottom. It says our sources NWE map, beginning of the year. The correlation research that came out in the middle of summer stated that we now have a projection for STAR proficiency for this grade level, sitting at 19%. So we're very confident. Again, this is a Eureka Math grade level, and we feel confident that indeed they'll come up. 19.4%, 20% tabbed it up, 6.76 for our special ed, of course, 18.6 similar to the 19 previously. So what are the reinforcements? I can basically go to the reinforcements that were in that very first document that align to our strategic plan. And it's implementing Eureka Math, K4. Monitoring small group instruction and supplemental resources. Building teacher efficacy, lesson internalization. Very important piece through our professional learning communities. Finally, strengthening instructional coach capacity through our Texas lesson study with Region 20, Education Service Center 20, to effectively lead the PLCs and implement high-quality instructional HQIM, which is Eureka Math. And finally, supporting teachers with implementation of HQIM. And then some refinements. We want to make sure that we refine and improve our coaches' ability to provide that instructional coaching to all of our teachers in a very effective manner. And analyze data, identify trends in student misconceptions, a huge piece of receiving mathematics, and support teachers in creating reteach plans. Finally, support teachers in planning and using scaffoldings to close academic gaps during small group instructions, and place that particular piece at monitoring. And again, a lot of monitoring going on between Office of School Leadership, academics, and the campus principals. Next, Dr. Basurto will speak to our new courses.
New course accountability board, President Castilla, Dr. Hernandez, and C members. So for your consideration is the course catalog for the school year 25 and 26. And what you notice is on the upgrade is that we dedicated a specific page that tells you where the changes are relative to the course catalog. Course catalog courses, as you know, are repetitive every year. They're always maintained within the course catalog. These are the courses that we offer as a district. And the new courses that are being added are in the new courses that will be added, there you go. The new courses that will be added are in page 14, and there's a total of 3 CTE courses that are new for pathways. There's also 4 fine arts courses, and then there's an added 4 course. So those are the new courses added. Are there any questions for the course catalog?
And ladies and gentlemen, these pieces that we're providing with you, to you will be presented in the board update. Dr. Napkins.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Hernandez. We will be bringing to you for approval the campus improvement plans. As you know, this is a recurring item in which the board is asked to approve the performance objectives of the campus improvement plans. I'd like to remind you that you approved the district improvement plan last month, and the campus improvement plans all align with the district improvement plan. Also, you will find in the board update, actually for the last 2 weeks, and it will again this week, any supplementary materials from a presentation to one-pagers. And I'd really like to use this opportunity to thank our PR team for putting together again a video that really explains the process that campuses go through with using the campus improvement plan. So I'd encourage everyone to just, when you watch it, if you see Mr. Frank Villarreal around, if you give him an applause. Thank you.
And again, ladies and gentlemen of the board, those particular pieces will be in the board update.
Board members, I'll add. So board members, I'll add, I think most of you were here for the training for Plan for Learning. If you were not, maybe I will reach out to you so we can get you trained, whether it's in person or online. I think we have that capacity to probably do it online, on Zoom or something. So just wanted to throw that in there. And again, you'll get this information in the board update this Friday. So overall, board members, is there any question about these 2 items that are coming out of this house? They're not new. They're just, we bring them to you because this is a recurring thing we have every year, and or the LSG presentation. Any questions?
I just have a comment for the new course offerings. I just want to thank the district that we're adding new courses, and we're seeing throughout the year what we can do for next year, because I really think that's important for students to be able to do something different. And I'm really excited for the theater management course, because it's something else you can do your senior and junior level. So it's just really, I really like that. But I just wanted to ask for the campus improvement plan. I was looking on the the attachments, and I was just wondering why, again, that the Stafford has 2 schools, the Stafford Elementary and the Visual Performing Arts, along with the, I believe there's a Roosevelt also.
I can address that. When we went into designing new innovative school models, the grant funding that we received through the School Action Fund required that when you launch a new school, that you do it based on effective research, which we call the slow grow model. And in order to do that, we needed to ensure that we had a new school number. And so both of those schools, the action that we took would be new school design model. And so that's why we went from Stafford Elementary, traditional elementary school, to Stafford Visual and Performing Arts with the new school number. So you will see that with Roosevelt, and you will also see that with Stafford. Our other school models have already phased out of the old schools.
But my question is, why would we be seeing like two different CIP reports for each of those?
Yeah, each of the school numbers operates based on separate budgets, and because, for example, in Stafford Visual and Performing Arts Elementary School, the students that are enrolled there in kinder through 4th grade generate the funding that's associated with some of the federal requirements, and so we are required to have two separate budgets and all of the CIPs and those things that would go along with it.
So like for the visual performing arts, so like after next year we would see only one school on the map?
Yes, once we phase out, yes, sir, that's correct.
And then is it just the Stafford and the Roosevelt that are the only ones that are still phasing out classes?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, next, we'll hear from Ms. Martinez, she's our last presentation.
So good evening. Finally, or good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Hernandez. I want to discuss some of the items that we have for this evening. We just have some things out of the Business and Finance Office and Human Resources. You will find that the items are recurring. So I'm going to skip straight into the slides. For Business and Finance, one of the things that I do want to mention is we have a budget amendment. Even though these are recurring, the amendments come for different reasons. The one that will be presented to the board is related to moving monies from one line item to another for dyslexia services, and various campuses need additional monies for supplies, so they're taking from their budget and moving it to a supplies line item. So it's a really basic amendment that does not affect fund balance. Tonight I was hoping to have a little bit more detail about our annual financial compliance report. We are required to adopt our financial statements 150 days after the year closes, which makes it this month in November. I do not have a draft this evening, unfortunately, but it's for good reason. We are moving, because ESSER closed, we are moving expenses that are qualified from ESSER funding into locals so we can preserve some of our fund balance. So that requires some different adjustments that the auditors are working on currently, but I should have some updates by Friday that I can put in the board update, and of course, it is a big piece. So we will bring this back to the work session so that we can get into details if the board has questions about the financial statements after we send out the information. I will tell you though that on a good note, I don't anticipate we're going to hit fund balance after all for last year. So that's going to be a really big plus for us. So as part of this month's agenda, you will also have, and Amelia will help with this, we're going to have the votes for the board of directors for the Bay Appraisal District. That will be at this board meeting's agenda. We did not make a nomination, but the candidates have been provided to us, and the vote will take place at the next board meeting. Items 5F through 5K are all recurring. They are extensions to various RFPs and RFQs for different vendors. We have included the names of the vendors. These are not new. Most of these are in second or third year renewals. As you know, a few years ago, we went to the model of deepening our bench so that we could have various vendors on call. And this is just another extension in business as usual. Part of the information items, you will see the monthly financial statements and the tax collection reports. Those are not, you do not vote on those items, but they will be there for your information. In July, we had a donation of $80,000 from the Trust of Communities Foundation to support the Early Education Head Start program. And we also had a donation of $200 from Trinity Elite Education to support the bilingual department and some of the activities that they do. For Human Resources, you will see the monthly and yearly reports that we get that are discussed in closed session as necessary. And we will also bring a one-time $1,000 incentive pay for Head Start and Early Head Start employees only. This will be for eligible full-time employees as defined by the city. We have the grant through the city of San Antonio for Head Start, and the funds can only be used for Head Start staff. So this is much like we brought forward about a year ago. This is a similar request that will be targeting specifically Head Start and Early Head Start programs. We will also bring again a recurring item, TASB risk management. We have a policy with TASB that mitigates our risk for workers' compensation. So if we have a claim that's significantly high, TASB takes over those costs. As long as we don't, if it exceeds $539,556, the policy costs us about $80,000, but it saves us a lot in the long term should we have high risk. Again, that is a recurring item. The rest of the reports, auxiliary paraprofessional, like we mentioned, these are recurring and they will be discussed in closed session as necessary. That concludes the presentation. Are there any questions other than financial statements that I don't have readily available? Are there any other questions about the rest of the items?
I have a question for the budget amendment for the, I believe it was for a few slides.
Oh, this amendment, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering what exactly would they be using for dyslexia services, and what is the reason why during the school year that the school would request the supplies?
This is from actually the department level. So what happens, we may have budgeted, because at the board level, we budget by function, right? Function 11 is direct instruction, 13 is for professional development. So sometimes we have to take money from professional development and give it back to instruction or vice versa for some trainings that we have, et cetera. So it's very normal course of business.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And my next question is for the RFP renewals. That's like, I see the item 5G for public service. I just want to make sure that because we're having this service, public service, I just want to make sure that as a district that we're adequately looking at the trash can, because I know some of our campuses, some of them don't have lids, and some of them are filled with graffiti. So I just want to make sure that we're doing our steps to also, because I know we paved our parking lots, but I just want to make sure that for aesthetic reasons that stuff like graffiti and the trash cans.
I see Mr. Williams writing notes already, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the Head Start, the $1,000 stipend, will this really support in retention, or what is the reason that we're really doing this stipend?
Twofold. It will support a retention and also attraction. So it's we still have some vacancies. There's challenges that we continue to have as a district and really nationwide, unfortunately. But this will help with it will be for both the staff members that are already here and to attract other staff members for vacant positions. So it's for both, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Madam President, those are all our reports tonight.
Dr. Hernandez? I just wanted to mention, I couldn't make it for the legislative priorities. I was just wondering, I know one thing that I see and that I believe TASB is going to be advocating for also is because in our community it's really persistent. We're starting to see a lot of smoke in bake shops. So I think the TASB is advocating for, because I believe there's a law that a school board or a school district can request for $1,000, 1,000 feet, there can be a liquor store if they request. I know what TASB wants to do is making sure that 300 feet from the campus that there's no smoke vape shop, or within 1,000 feet that the school district would recommend. So I was just wondering if, how would the school board put forward legislative priorities in the district's priorities?
So on the first question, with regards to the legislative priorities, you will get the ones that are going up to the state for this legislative session starts in January. I believe Amelia might have already given you a hard copy. Those are the drafts of what we're bringing to you guys. That will talk about everything from teacher retention to fully funding House Bill 3 That's one of the strategies we're taking on in the Bear County Coalition, is asking them to fund what they've already put into law. Now, with regards to your question, which to me is a locally elected idea, I would ask the board to talk, as you're talking to your local city council people, in our case, it's Terry Castillo and Melissa Hapra. Those are the two individuals you want to talk to, because a lot of times those are city ordinances. And if we're gonna get them to actually do things that would keep things, like you mentioned a vape shop, away from our schools, and that's where we want to start, is with our local city council people. And then, of course, if you have access to the mayor, it's always a good idea to mention it to the mayor, but more so than many, it's gonna be our city council folks. And then at the next for us would be Josie Garcia, our state rep. And then remember, we also have a small portion with Ray Lopez. He's our other person, and then Commissioner Justin Rodriguez is the other person. So those are the individuals that I would ask you to email, a phone call, and a lot of times if you can't get them, you're gonna get their chief of staff. So those are the folks you wanna talk to, because we do have a high, inordinate amount of liquor stores, tobacco shops on our particular part of town. The way we start that is with our city council people and then other folks that are used.
Thank you, but I don't know if the city council can limit smoker vape shops. I think that's like the thing that would have to be passed by the legislature, but I'll look into it.
Yeah, locally, Mr. Valdez, I mean in terms of where the shop can actually open. I think with regards to the state, you mean with regards to the actually selling of vaping material and or tobacco products, yes, that is regulated by the state. But in terms of, it's my understanding that at the locally elected level, they will actually provide the ordinances for where these shops actually are built. And I know they're actually trying to work on those things in some of the other more adult establishments that we have a lot down Highway 90. They're trying to push those out of our side of town. I know because I've talked to Terry and Melissa about it. So that's why I would ask you guys to start.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, Madam President, I think that is all for us.
Thank you. The time is now 7:08. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Dr. James Hernandez, motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Valdez seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, raise your hand, say nay. Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.